Hello, welcome back to Affirmations. As you can see, I'm in a kind of different location, out of town for a wedding. This was a beautiful area where I am, where they had these cool chairs that look like little Yoda chairs, or I don't know if those of you who are familiar with The Last Airbender, I think that's the name of the show. And they have all these kind of different element group tribes. But anyway, uh, the priests and things, they would kind of sit in these kind of cross-legged positions. Anyway, this chair looks like an egg, so I need to give me one of these. This is gorgeous. Anyway, got a good breeze going. I'm hoping everyone is doing well. I want to welcome any new subscribers that I have. Thank you for subscribing, as well as my original, as they say, day ones that have subscribed to the channel. Do like, share, and subscribe. Also, thank those who are just coming through, okay? We do tackle the topic of healing slave trauma, right? And so we normally will always, I normally have some type of a Palo Santo or some type of incense. One of the things, for those of you that are new, I always talk about is that I believe that when you are healing, it is spiritual in nature, and we do have a right to kind of light candles, use incense, and those things, right? Uh, kind of similar for how churches and temples do, okay? Um, Normally we might hear people kind of walking through. This is kind of like a Airbnb, so it's a location where it's a lot of people. Okay, I'm dropping cards already, but that's fine. We're gonna let them. They meant to be dropped. That's wonderful. You know how I think. Oh wow. Yeah. So anyway, hoping everyone is doing well. Wishing everyone mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical health. We're gonna start with our statement, right? For those of you that are new, we always start with our statement. Death and life is in the power of the tongue, and they that love it should eat the fruit thereof. Have you been feeding yourself fresh or rotten fruit? Always want to mind the self-talk that you do with yourself as well as what you speak out loud. We always want to mind what we also are speaking about others. It's okay to vent. We want to make sure that we're not lying or being malicious, okay? Because that is one of the things that they have taught us, right? During slavery is to kind of be against each other. So we do want to think about that, okay? Um, so, this right here is a new deck that I'm kind of using called Arcanafolia. And I love it because it has a lot of nature. I've noticed that I've kind of been gravitating to a lot of nature. Hopefully, you all have been getting outside. We've talked about grounding. And again, for those of you that are new, look that up, the word grounding and the benefits of that, right? Kind of being out in nature and kind of resetting. Okay. So we're gonna kind of just, you know, for those of you that are new, I'm just gonna kind of pretty much pull a card. Oh, they're popping, honey. What's this one? Okay, I think these are the ones, and we're gonna kind of talk about it. And I will normally will apply it to our people. Oh, it's so interesting. So we got the card Gossip. Okay, y'all probably can't even see that. It's a beautiful picture of a bird. Yeah, Gossip. So if y'all span in. Interesting. We got change. Okay. So gossip, the saying is words spread fast. Change, fear is not a good advisor. I like that one. Detour, change course. Okay. Okay. Let's see what this is saying. Number 4, gossip. Right? It's interesting that we just got through talking about that, right? That it's normal to vent um, and trying to process and understand things when we're being malicious or lying. Sometimes that can backfire. So it talks about rumors, truths, reputation, talk, discussion, popularity. It says gossip can swiftly distort truths, tarnish reputations, and erode trust between people. Cultivating a culture of integrity and empathy can help. Encourage focusing on constructive dialogue and emphasize the importance of respecting others' privacy. Responding with discretion and kindness allows for a healthier and more supportive environment. Depending on the context, uh, this card could mean sometimes fast success or gaining popularity. So this is so interesting. We're talking about that gaining popularity, right? Sometimes people will use gossip as a way to become popular. So we have to ask ourselves, do we find ourselves doing that, right? It's a way to connect with people, kind of creating gossip to become popular. So we have to ask ourselves, are we doing that? Sometimes people will use gossip to ruin reputations, to kind of sometimes take opportunities from other people, right? So we have to kind of watch that. And one of the things we always talk about is the different type of archetypes or the different type of characters from slavery. One of the ones we talk about is that of the overseer, right? So I look at this kind of like an overseer. If someone's going gossiping and they are watching and seeing people naturally gravitate to each other or things or get opportunities, if they take on the role, the negative aspect of an overseer is them going into interrupting and creating rumors and gossip to sabotage. Yeah? And so you have to ask yourself, do I struggle with this? Sabotaging others. Okay? Let me see what else this is talking about. Oh, another topic when I think about gossip. Sometimes again, we in life we do have people that at certain times, again, everyone is in our lives for a reason, right? They teach us lessons, but sometimes friendships, relationships end, and that's a natural process of life. But the question is, along the way, you've learned things about people, and are you able? And sometimes let's say things go sideways, and you end up not even speaking or liking each other anymore. Are you able to hold those private things, even if you don't like a person? What is the level of your integrity? Is it such that even if we are no longer speaking, even if we have decided we have gone our ways and we may have clashed, am I kind of person that still will not go and share private information, even if I perceive this person as my enemy? Or basically the friendship is there, but as soon as you're pissed off, now I'm going to go tell everything, right? And again, we always talk about, you will, what you put out, you get back, right? I always get this flipped around, what you sow, you shall reap. Yeah, that is the term, right? So if you have a history of doing that to people, then what's going to happen? A lot of times that will end up being done to you as well. So we want to kind of be mindful of that. This is a good one. This is something that, our people will struggle with, because again, they have bred us to be able to compete with each other and tear each other down, okay? Let's look at the second one we got. We got change. Let's see what change is talking about. Change. Now again, y'all may not be able to see that if you zoom in, maybe you can. These are some beautiful cards. I'll use them another time and show closer version. Beautiful. Let's see. Number 22. Let's see what this is talking about. 22. New direction, decision making, higher power, overcoming fear, instinct. It's time to take the wheel and head towards a new direction in life. So how many of us have been getting the inkling to change directions? Because what we have going on is just not working. Sometimes we have to make this decision ourselves, while other times a higher power intervenes and makes the decisions for us, right? So we live, again, depending on your spiritual belief, because all of us have different spiritual beliefs. Sometimes things happen that's out of our control, that we cannot control. But if you use your intuition, sometimes you can sense a change is coming. You already know that before something really is about to end, you can shift gears and not have to wait for everything to collapse. You can be wise and start making moves and shifts and changing, because you're totally accepting and understanding that nothing lasts forever. Okay? And so sometimes we have to be wise and shift. Let's see what else it's saying. Sometimes we have to make this decision ourselves, or other times a higher power intervenes and makes decisions. However, all of it is meant to lead us towards a better, happier, successful, and free version of ourselves. Now, many of us may not agree with that, right? Some people are like, why did this have to end? I'm upset, right? But sometimes what can happen is that we are here trying to, again, sometimes if you're calling yourself being spiritual, or even sometimes you don't want to be spiritual, but the spiritual realm is dealing with you, things will shut down in order to get your attention to shift you in a different direction, even if you don't want it, right? But and again, we always talk about it. It is what you believe, right? Death and life is in the power of the tongue, or what you think. If you think something is a positive thing, or this negative thing is happening, but I think something positive is going to happen, or oh, something bad has happened, so it's going to stay bad. So you get to decide that, right? So we have to figure that out. It may seem scary to take a leap, but fear is not a good advisor in situations. Sometimes it may creep up on us in the form of contentment, right? I know I'm one. I love my contentment. I really don't like a lot of change, but I will say I'm very good at kind of seeing the reading on the wall. I can tell the signs that things are kind of shutting down, so I need to shift, right? But when we're content, we don't want to change, or feeling that our dreams are unattainable. Therefore, we must be aware of our natural instinct of self-preserve, but we must also remember that our growth lies on the other side of the wall. Okay, that's a good one. Let's see this last one. We got detour. Detour. Okay, you probably can't see that, but you can zoom in if you like. Detour, change course. Isn't it interesting? This kind of goes change and change course. Okay. You see 37? 37. 37. Let's see what this is talking about. Shift directions, detour, development, unexpected changes, choose a different path. This card suggests that it may be time to approach a situation or issue differently. It could also mean that the universe, and again, you have to feel in what you believe. I believe the Most High, we all have different beliefs, has arranged for a special detour that will ultimately be beneficial. Even though we often prefer the familiar shortcut of our desired destination, we're being called to change course. This might feel uncomfortable, but keep an eye out for positive developments in your personal story or unexpected aspects on your path. Occasionally, this could also be a sign to discontinue engaging in a situation that's not beneficial to you, right? So again, that's that instinct. Can you tell if a situation is not beneficial? That's another way where you can determine I need to shift. This situation is not benefiting me. These are some signs I'm seeing, right? Are we able to accept that? Or do we sit around kind of hoping that it'll change? Or do we, again, see the writing on the wall and make the shift? Okay? This is interesting how this is connected to what we just kind of talked about regarding change. Let's see, we can call. Yeah. So that's one thing that's really good. I'll keep talking about our feelings, right? When things feel off course and we're unsettled and it's things that we don't like, sometimes that is an alarm system letting us know I need to assess this. Is this really for me or not? Right? Is this something that once worked but is no longer working? And sometimes when we fight against that, we're not really benefiting from the situation. Because sometimes things could be for us, but when it starts to not be for us, the quicker you can remove yourself, you're not having to deal with any of the negatives or staying too long. And I know that sounds odd, but it's something we have to think about. And think back in your life when you had a gut instinct, I don't know, something's telling me to shift, but yet you stayed too long. Was that a good decision, or what were some of the consequences of the negatives that came with staying too long? And was it a point that if you would have left, that it would have been less consequences? Okay? So interesting. So I'm just kind of looking at all this. Gossip, change, and detour. The connection between these. Yeah. Sometimes it may be that we are not aware that people are gossiping about us. And a lot of times, again, who can really gossip? What does that imply? There's people that know you very well. There's people that have information on you, right? And when you're aware of this, are you able to shift gears, right, and detour? And sometimes you see early signs of it but you don't want to believe it, but you stay too long. Or you will kind of get an inkling that someone is saying something but ignore it. But then you stay too long and keep sharing information, giving people more ammunition to ruin your reputation, right? So the quicker we can change and detour from situations like that by reading relationships, friendships, and especially workplace, all those type of things. Okay, it can save us from, heartache. Okay, so that's what we have today. Again, I thought I'd try something different. Want you all to like, share, and subscribe. Do look at the post. I am posting videos of different things for us to check out, okay? So I'm going to end with the statement that I always end with. Everyone has a right to heal from trauma without interference and and in privacy, even a race nation. And until next time, bye.